Hello everyone, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're going to do a fast and loose watercolor painting of a spooky Halloween barn. So in front of me I have a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua. This is 100% cotton, 140-pound cold press. I completely coated with water before turning on the camera, and we'll jump right into painting it. So I don't have any pictures that I'm working from. This is going to be from my imagination. But if you have a picture of a spooky barn that you would like to paint or see painted, hit me up on one of the social medias down below, either Instagram, Facebook, what have you. And let me know, share it with me. I'd love to see it. And we could go ahead and paint it and have fun with it. All right, so I'm going to use my medium Ranson hake brush. I'll mention the colors as I go along. This is raw sienna. I haven't painted a building in a while. It's definitely going to be fast and loose, but I have an idea for how we're going to do it. My horizon line will be out here. That's Hammy, the cat, in the other room. Maybe he's pretending to be a ghost cat. Okay, just kind of getting an idea where everything's going to be. I'm probably going to focus on my earth tones and Payne's gray to get those Halloween spooky type feel, but I just want to get everything in place. We could put a little bit of ultramarine in that sky. We want that fall, autumn feel. Grab some light red oxide, mix some ultramarine with that for a distant purple. I'd put a fresh tube of light red oxide out, so I just picked up a large quantity of that pigment. But we'll roll with it. So this is going to be the distant tree line behind our barn. Okay. Put some in the sky. Just play around all over. And here you can see I left this space empty because rather than sketching or masking fluid or anything like that, I'm going to use a paper towel to lift up the shape of the barn. So here's where the bottom is going to sit. I'm going to wipe out this whole inside, just pull up all that water. Pull up the side of the barn. Come up on an angle. Let's bring it up here. We want that kind of dilapidated falling roof. Piece that pokes out. And there we go. So I'm wiping out the shape of it, and I can continue wet and wet around it, and my pigment won't flow into that. Grabbing some more ultramarine. I want a little bit of variety in this background. And we'll just grab some sap green. Throw a little bit of green back in there. Let's create the horizontal flow of the foreground. I'll grab some more raw sienna. You see how we're still wet and wet here. That's flowing. I'll throw some of that in the background. Honestly, all this color and rich pigment, it looks like something that we have down here in Louisiana called king cake. Around Mardi Gras, okay, this is burnt sienna, sorry. Just throwing that in as well, just getting that variety. Around Mardi Gras, there's a very festive, I think it's kind of like a cinnamon roll, monkey bread type deal. And it's covered with just a lot of sugar, and it's orange and purple and yellow and green, a whole bunch of colors. I'm worried that this might be a little too festive for the Halloween spookiness. Let's put a little bit of tree texture back here. Just going to scrape directly into it. I'm going to flatten my paper out. Grab the number 1 rigger. I'm going to get some Payne's Gray. I'll put some wet and wet branches here. And since this is for YouTube a demo and it's fast and loose, we'll go pretty quick with it. But you can play around and have a lot of fun in this stage and really kind of make those spooky, spindly trees with a lot of dead branches hanging off of them. And I'll grab a little bit of Payne's Gray just to help this directional shape. And while we're wet and wet, I'm going to do a dry off in a moment. I think since our light's coming from back here, so it's relatively light right there, I'll bring some dark in this direction. Cast a little bit of a shadow towards us. If we had a barn to paint that was planned out, that had a spooky, sinister look, that shadow coming towards us and kind of enveloping the viewer would probably help create that spookiness. A little accentuation right back here so that this little bit of depth creates that recession. And I could even throw a little bit of dark Payne's Gray, get a little bit of counter change. Grass coming up on either side, a little bit of foreground grass. Okay, so enough playing around. Let's pause this, do a dry off, and we'll paint in the barn. So we had a massive drying shift, and that's totally fine. It'll let us play around within the barn and the background trees, or we could just accentuate the barn. I'm going to grab the number 4 rigger and a mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine, and I'm going to use this to create kind of the outline of my barn, start shaping things up some. Now, the main influence on any type of barn or building painting that I do is Rick S. from YouTube. I watched his videos whenever I was starting to learn watercoloring, and he has some great tutorials on barns and outdoor material, like just a fantastic watercolor painter. So I highly recommend checking him out. Anywho, he does wonders with just a few color combinations. And with a barn like this, he'll push back and forth between that burnt sienna and ultramarine to get the variety that he wants, rather than just a straight line of color. And if he doesn't get the color he wants, he has plenty of techniques, or the texture, plenty of techniques to utilize. We could use the brush in this scrubbing fashion. We can grab the hake. Right now I haven't cleaned the hake off. As you can see, it just has those greens on it still, but I'll just grab a little bit of Payne's Gray. We can use it for a vertical type wet and wet to give the illusion of the barn being made out of vertical pieces of wood. The bottom of the barn has to sit in place. I'm going to darken that underhang. This is Payne's Gray. And you can see how we can even use loose flicking motions to create that as well. Kind of a undercover port, like a carport type deal. Darken up some areas where we'll put in some windows. These areas are going to soften up and they're going to spread out. But since we're going fast and loose, we'll get those shapes in place and we'll clean them up in a few. And we'll move to the background trees. Here's a mixture of the same stuff, ultramarine and the burnt sienna. And we can put in guys back here. We can help them cast a shadow as well. So if the light's coming from here, just pull it out. So it's just radiating the shadow. Side brush, we'll use the hake for some texture effects in a moment. Put a tree back here. Make it like hands reaching up over the barn. Okay, we have pigment on the hake already, so we could kind of just jump right into texturing these guys. This hake is a pretty well-worn one, so you may not get the same texture as me, but that's totally fine. Learn the textures that you're implementing, the tools that you can make, and work with what you have. Now, to help this guy sit in place, it flicks up. Let's see. Just dance a little texture across. A little bit of Payne's Gray. Bring a little bit more shadow from the barn. Stronger Payne's Gray. I feel like I haven't used this many colors and pigments in a while. I've been doing so many monochromatic and two-color studies, experiments. Here's our foreground to let it sit in place. Bring in on either side as a framing device. Grab the number 1 or the number 4, whatever gets into your hand first. Now we're going to do a quick dry off so we can go back into the barn itself. All right, quick enough dry off. I'm going to grab the number 4 rigger, burnt sienna, ultramarine. We'll come back in. We'll start playing around with this guy. Maybe create a little pillar right here. Let's talk about that dark overhang, underhang. Throw some textures in there. Give the illusion that there's tools and machinery. Darken up these windows. Now when I did put the 2 windows here, I did think, oh, it's going to look like eyes. And it does, so you could give it a little window that it makes a little extra eye up here. Just throw it a little bit. Have little cracks in the wood that extend down. Some spots. Dance the brush or just dry brush your texture. Just grabbing darks at this point. I had wanted to paint a Halloween themed painting the past few days. And now that I'm finally doing one, happy, and I think that I'll do a few more. This one's kind of shaking off the cobwebs, getting the Halloween decorations out the closet. My what I call my Super Bowl, the Giant Omelet Festival, where I kind of am able to display paintings and such, unfortunately got canceled. So the painting opportunities and the art opportunities, there's a lot more this month rather than doing a lot of preparatory stuff, which is fine. Let's see if there's any other colors we want to play around with. We just want to throw in some heavy blacks. We could do a little bit of fence posts on either side, or just posts in general. We could have a dilapidated type of fence that might inadvertently read as a cemetery. So we'll play around with that. Ooh, we could do some Gothic building paintings. I'll probably do some longer videos this month, now that I said I had more free time for that. That'll be fun. And of course, you're always welcome to follow along. I encourage you to, and if you want to sign your own name, feel free. And if you ever get the opportunity to sell or give away one of your paintings that you do from this channel, you have my express permission. I want you guys to be successful and most of all have fun and enjoy the process. Just side brushing a little bit, just kind of pushing around some areas. Of course, I'd like for you to like, subscribe, follow. I have a Patreon if you want to support. I also have Etsy if you ever like anything and want to purchase it. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but if you ever want to show me what you did from one of these paintings, I'd love to see results. So feel free to tag me in anything that you do. We'll lead a little bit kind of a gated fence on either side. Saturday, my friend's going out to his farm. He has a farm south of here. Maybe I can get some photos. I wonder if he has an old barn and stuff. But he does have some cows, and we're going to pet some cows. So that's exciting. My fiance is very excited about that. Two fences leading back to that gaping maw. And of course, I'm going to be complete without some spooky birds. Anything else we want to do? I think we're at a good stopping point. Let's try it off. We'll sign it and see how it looks. And there you have it, our fast and loose spooky barn under a mat. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a safe and happy Halloween and month of October. I'll talk to you all soon.